The darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions. No stars were close enough to give light. No planets could be seen. This was the empty zone between star systems where nothing lived and nothing traveled. The Vorthak research ship Crimson Nexus floated dead in this void. Its lights were dim. Its engines were silent. Inside the ship, Commander Kale looked out through the main window at the blackness beyond. His scaled face showed worry. His yellow eyes reflected the weak emergency lights. "How long do we have?" Kale asked. Dr. Yuki checked his data pad. The Vorthak scientist was smaller than the commander, but his mind was sharp. He had been running the same calculations over and over, hoping for better news each time. 2 rotations, Yuki said quietly. Maybe less if we keep using power like this. Kyle's claws clicked against the metal rail. 2 rotations meant 2 of their days. After that, the life support would fail. The air would stop flowing. The heat would fade away. They would all die in the cold darkness. The Crimson Nexus had been on a simple mission. They were studying old star maps in this quiet part of space. The work was boring but important. Then their hyperdrive core had exploded without warning. The blast damaged many systems. Now they could not travel faster than light. They could not call for help across long distances. "The emergency beacon is still working," said Communications Officer Vel from his station. His voice sounded tired. They had been sending the distress signal for 6 rotations now. 6 days of hoping someone would hear them and come to help. Kyle walked to the communications station. "Any responses?" "Nothing, Commander. This sector is empty. No trade routes pass through here. No colonies exist for many light years in any direction." The Vorthak were proud warriors. They had conquered many worlds. Their ships were feared across the galaxy. But here in the darkness, all their strength meant nothing. They could not fight empty space. They could not battle the cold void with their claws and weapons. 12 crew members were aboard the ship. Each one was an expert in their field. Dr. Yuki was known throughout Vorthak space for his brilliant research. Engineer Cox had built some of the finest ships in their fleet. Navigator Pex could find paths through the most dangerous areas of space. None of that mattered now. "Sir," called Engineer Cox from across the bridge, "I have been looking at the hyperdrive again. The damage is too great. Even if we had the right parts, it would take weeks to repair. We do not have weeks." Kyle nodded slowly. He had expected this news, but hearing it still hurt. "What about the regular engines? Can we reach a system using normal drive?" "The nearest star system is 47 light-years away. At maximum speed, it would take us over 200 years to reach it." The bridge fell silent. 200 years. They would be dead long before they traveled even 1 light-year. Dr. Yuki spoke up. "I have been thinking about our options. We could put the crew into emergency sleep pods. That would make our air and food last much longer." "How much longer?" Kyle asked. "Maybe 30 rotations instead of 2. It was better, but still not enough. No rescue would come in 30 days. This part of space was truly empty." Kyle looked at his crew. Some were his friends. He had served with Engineer Cox for many years. Dr. Yuki had saved his life once during a battle with space pirates. Communications Officer Vel was young, but eager to learn. "Begin recording final messages," Kale ordered. His voice was steady, but inside he felt heavy with sadness. "Each crew member should record words for their families. We will put the messages in a probe and launch it toward Vorthak space. Maybe someone will find it someday." The crew began their sad work. One by one, they went to private rooms to record their last words. Kale listened to some of them through the ship's communication system. Engineer Cox spoke to his mate about their young children. Dr. Yuki left scientific notes for his research team. Navigator Pex gave his brother directions to find his hidden treasure. Kale was thinking about his own message when Vel suddenly shouted from his station, "Commander, I'm receiving a response to our distress call." Everyone on the bridge stopped what they were doing. Kale rushed to the communication station. "Are you sure? Check your equipment." "I have checked 3 times, sir. Someone is answering our beacon." Kyle felt hope rise in his chest. "Can you identify the ship?" Vel worked with his controls. Strange sounds came from the speakers. The signal was weak and used old transmission methods. "The signal is very primitive, Commander. They are using basic radio waves. The ship identifies itself as Soul's Pride. They claim to be a human cargo freighter." "Human?" Dr. Yuki moved closer to hear better. "I have heard this name before. They are a new species, very young in space travel. Their technology is considered primitive by galactic standards." Kale thought about this. Humans were barely mentioned in the galactic databases. They had only recently developed faster-than-light travel. Most advanced species ignored them completely. "Can such a primitive ship help us?" asked Engineer Cox. "Doctor." Yuki shrugged. "Their technology is simple, but they might have basic supplies. Food, water, air, every little bit helps." Vel continued listening to the signal. "They are asking about our condition and location. Should I respond, Commander?" Kale hesitated. The proud Vorthak had never needed help from primitive species before. What would other Vorthak think if they learned he had accepted rescue from humans? Then he looked around the dark bridge. He saw his crew preparing to die. He thought about their families who would never see them again. Pride would not keep them breathing. "Answer them," Kyle ordered. "Tell them our situation. Give them our exact location." "Yes, sir." As Vel sent their response, Kale wondered what kind of help a small human freighter could possibly provide. Their ship was probably tiny compared to the Crimson Nexus. Their technology was hundreds of years behind Vorthak science. But they had answered the call. In all the empty darkness of space, only the humans had responded to their cry for help. Maybe, Kale thought, that meant something important. Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride and stared at the massive alien ship floating in space ahead of them. The Vorthak vessel was huge. His cargo freighter could fit inside one of its cargo bays with room to spare. "Look at the size of that thing," whispered Engineering Chief Day from behind him. "How do they even build ships that big?" "Focus on the job," Hyun said, but he was just as amazed as his crew. This was humanity's first real contact with an advanced alien species. The Soul's Pride was just a simple cargo ship carrying basic supplies to human colonies. They never expected to find themselves rescuing aliens. Communications Officer Nari worked at her station, trying to establish better contact with the alien ship. The signals were strange and complex, but she was slowly learning how to communicate with them. "Captain, I am getting clearer transmissions now," Nari reported. "The aliens call themselves Vorthak. Their ship is called Crimson Nexus. They have been stranded for 6 days. "What is their condition?" "Life support is failing. They estimate 2 days before total system failure. 12 crew members aboard." Hyun nodded. His ship carried a crew of 8 humans. Adding 12 aliens would be very crowded, but they could manage it if needed. "Can we dock with their ship?" he asked Engineering Chief Day. "Their docking ports are completely different from ours. We would need to use the emergency airlocks and floating tubes to transfer people." "How dangerous is that?" "Not too bad if we are careful. The real problem is their size. According to the scanner readings, these Vorthak are much bigger than humans. Our corridors and rooms might be too small for them." Hyun studied the readings on his screen. The Vorthak ship was clearly built by an advanced civilization. Its hull design was elegant and strong. Its weapon systems looked powerful even when not working. These aliens were much more technologically advanced than humans, so why were they asking for help from a simple human cargo ship? "Captain," called Medic Yoon from her station, "I am analyzing their distress signal. It includes some biological data about their species. They breathe oxygen like us, but they need different temperatures and humidity levels. I can adjust our life support systems to help them, but it will not be comfortable for anyone. Do what? You need to do, Hyun ordered. Nari, ask them for permission to come aboard their ship. We need to see the damage and understand their situation better. Yes, Captain. The response from the Vorthak ship came quickly. They agreed to allow a small, human team aboard. Hyun selected Engineer Bok and Medic Yun to accompany him. The rest of the crew would stay aboard the Soul's Pride and prepare for possible evacuation. The transfer between ships was tricky. The emergency tubes stretched across empty space, connecting the two vessels. Hyun had done this type of transfer before, but never with an alien ship. Everything was different. The airlock sizes, the atmospheric pressure, even the gravity felt strange. When the inner door of the Vorthak ship opened, Hyun got his first look at an alien being. Commander Kale was tall and powerful. His skin was covered in dark green scales that reflected the ship's lights. His face was long, with a strong jaw filled with sharp teeth. His yellow eyes studied the humans with obvious curiosity and some suspicion. I am Commander Kale of the Vorthak research vessel Crimson Nexus, he said in perfect, though accented, human language. You are very small. I am Captain Hyun of the human cargo freighter Soul's Pride. We received your distress call and came to help. Kale looked down at the three humans. They barely reached his chest in height. Their soft skin and small frames made them look fragile compared to the powerful Vorthak warriors. We appreciate your response, Captain Hyun, but I am not sure what assistance your small ship can provide. More Vorthak crew members gathered around them. Dr. Yuki approached, carrying a datapad and various scanning devices. He was smaller than Commander Kale, but still much larger than the humans. I am Dr. Yuki, chief scientist of this vessel. Are you truly the first humans we have encountered? As far as we know, yes, Hyun replied. Your people are the first aliens. We have met as well. Dr. Yuki's eyes widened with interest. Fascinating. I have read about your species in the galactic databases, but the information is very limited. Your technology is listed as primitive, barely capable of interstellar travel. Engineer Bok stepped forward. Our technology might be simple, but it works. Can you show us the damage to your ship? Dr. Yuki led them through the corridors of the Crimson Nexus. The ship was impressive. The walls were made of strong metal alloys that humans were just learning to create. The computer systems were far more advanced than anything on the Soul's Pride. Everything was built on a massive scale to fit the large Vorthak crew. But the damage was severe. The hyperdrive core had exploded, destroying critical systems throughout the ship. Power was limited to emergency levels. Life support was failing slowly but steadily. The explosion happened without warning, Dr. Yuki explained as they walked through the damaged sections. We lost our primary power generation, our faster-than-light travel capability, and most of our long-range communication systems. Engineer Bok examined the twisted metal and burned circuits. He asked questions about how the systems worked and what each component was supposed to do. Dr. Yuki was surprised by how quickly the human understood the basic principles, even though human technology was much simpler. Your hyperdrive works differently from ours, Bok observed. Ours uses a different method to bend space, but the basic physics are the same. You understand hyperdrive theory? Dr. Yuki asked with surprise. The basics, yes. We have only had the technology for about 50 years. But our scientists studied the mathematics for much longer. Medic Yun was scanning the air and taking readings with her medical equipment. The atmosphere is getting thin, she reported. Carbon dioxide levels are rising. The life support system is definitely failing. How long do they have? Hyun asked. At the current rate of decline, maybe 48 hours, possibly less if the system fails completely. Dr. Yuki nodded sadly. That matches our calculations. We have been preparing for the end. Hyun studied the massive ship around them. It was far beyond human ability to repair. The Vorthak had technology that humans could only dream of having. But all that advanced, science could not save them now. "What about evacuation?" Hyun asked. "Could we take your crew aboard our ship?" Commander Kyle had been listening quietly. Now he spoke up. "Your ship is very small, Captain Hyun. I doubt it could support 12 additional people, especially people of our size." "It would be crowded," Hyun admitted. "But our life support systems are designed for long cargo runs. We carry extra capacity for emergencies." Engineer Bach was thinking about the technical problems. "We would need to modify our environmental controls, adjust the gravity, temperature, and air mixture. It is possible, but not easy." "How long would the journey take?" Dr. Yuki asked. "To where?" "The nearest human colony is about 15 days away, but I assume you want to reach Vorthak space?" "Yes. Our closest station is approximately 12 days from here." Hyun did quick calculations in his head. 12 days with 20 people on a ship designed for 8. Food and water would be very tight. Air recycling would be pushed to its limits. Living space would be almost non-existent. But it was possible. "We can do it," he said finally. "It will not be comfortable, but we can get you home." Commander Kyle looked skeptical. "Why would you do this? Your species barely knows us. We have nothing to offer you in return." Hyun was quiet for a moment. The question surprised him. Did they need a reason to help people in trouble? "Because you need help," he said simply. "That is enough." The Vorthak crew exchanged glances. This was not the response they had expected from a primitive species. Back aboard the Soul's Pride, Captain Hyun gathered his crew in the small meeting room. The space was cramped with all 8 humans present, but they needed to discuss the situation together. "The alien ship cannot be repaired," Hyun began. "Their technology is far more advanced than ours, but the damage is too severe. We need to evacuate 12 Vorthak crew members and transport them to their home space." Engineering Chief Day frowned. "Captain, our ship is not designed for that many people. We will have serious problems with life support, food storage, and living space." "I know it will be difficult," Hyun replied, "but we cannot leave them to die." Systems analyst May worked with her portable computer, running calculations. "I have been checking our supplies and capabilities. If we reduce food rations to emergency levels and optimize our air recycling systems, we can support 20 people for 12 days, but everyone will be very uncomfortable." Navigator. So looked up from her charts. "I can plot a course to Vorthak space that avoids the most dangerous areas. It will take exactly 11 days and 18 hours at maximum speed." "What about space for everyone to sleep?" asked Communications Officer Nari. "We will have to get creative," said Engineer Bach. "The cargo holds can be converted to temporary living areas. We have emergency sleeping bags and portable life support units." Medic Yoon had been studying the biological data from the Vorthak ship. "The biggest challenge will be environmental controls. The Vorthak need higher humidity and slightly higher oxygen levels than we do. I can adjust our systems, but it will make the air feel thick and heavy for us humans." "Can you make it work?" Hyun asked. "Yes, but it will not be pleasant for anyone. The Vorthak will be too warm, and we humans will feel like we are breathing soup." Scientist Jin had been quiet during the discussion. Now he spoke up. "Captain, I have been thinking about this differently. What if we do not just evacuate them? What if we try to create a hybrid solution?" "What do you mean?" "The Vorthak ship still has some working systems. Their hull is intact. Their gravity, generators still function. What if we connect our ships together and share resources?" Engineer Day looked interested. "You mean dock the ships permanently and use both life support systems?" "Exactly. We could run power cables and air tubes between the ships. Use our engines to push both vessels. Combine our resources instead of just cramming everyone into our small ship." May started running new calculations on her computer. "That could work. If we link the life support systems, we would have much more capacity. The Vorthak could stay in their own ship where they fit properly. But can we generate enough power to move both ships? Navigator so asked. Engineer Bach thought about it. Our engines are not powerful enough to push something that big at normal speed. But we do not need normal speed. We just need to move fast enough to reach Vorthak space in reasonable time. How long would it take? Hyun asked. Maybe 15 days instead of 12, but everyone would be much more comfortable. The crew looked at each other. The idea was unusual, but it might work better than trying to cram everyone into the small cargo ship. Let us go back to the Vorthak ship and discuss this with them, Hyun decided. When they returned to the Crimson Nexus, they found the alien crew gathered in their main meeting room. Commander Kale introduced the humans to the rest of his people. Each Vorthak was impressive in their own way. Engineer Cox was massive even by Vorthak standards, with arms like tree trunks. Navigator Pex had intricate scale patterns that showed his high rank. Communications Officer Vel was younger but eager to learn about the strange humans. We have been discussing your situation, Hyun began. We think there might be a better solution than evacuation. Dr. Yuki leaned forward with interest. What do you propose? Engineer Bach stepped forward with a portable display screen. Instead of abandoning your ship, we connect our vessels together. Share power, air, and resources between both ships. Showed them a simple diagram of how the connection would work. Power cables would run between the ships. Air tubes would balance the life support systems. The human ship would provide engine power to move both vessels. Engineer Cox studied the diagram. This is very primitive. We would never design a system like this. Primitive, yes, Bach agreed, but it will work. Sometimes simple solutions are better than complex ones. Dr. Yuki was intrigued. Your technology is basic, but this approach is quite clever. It uses the strengths of both ships while avoiding the weaknesses. Exactly. Your ship has space and some working systems. Our ship has power and working engines. Together, we have everything we need. Commander Kale looked skeptical. Can your small engines really push both ships? Not at full speed, Navigator. So admitted. But we can reach Vorthak space in about 15 days. That is much better than dying in 2 days. Engineer Day had been examining the Vorthak ship's systems with his equipment. Your power connectors are different from ours, but we can adapt them. We carry spare cables and universal connectors for emergencies. Universal connectors? Dr. Yuki asked. Standard human equipment. We learned early that different human colonies use different systems, so we build everything to be adaptable. This surprised the Vorthak. Their technology was more advanced, but it was also very specialized. Each system was designed to work with specific other systems. They rarely needed to adapt or improvise. How long would it take to set up these connections? Commander Kale asked. Engineer Bach thought about it. If your crew helps us, maybe 6 hours. The hardest part will be running the cables between ships safely. And you believe this will actually work? We have done similar things before, Hyun said. Human ships often have to help each other in remote areas. We get good at sharing resources and making temporary repairs. Medic Yoon added, This way, your crew can stay in familiar surroundings where you fit properly. Our medical equipment can treat both humans and Vorthak if anyone gets sick or injured. Dr. Yuki was becoming excited about the plan. This could work very well. We could even continue some of our research during the journey. Share scientific knowledge between our species. You would want to do research while your ship is damaged? Scientist Jin asked. Of course. This is the first direct contact between our peoples. We could learn much from each other. Commander Kale looked around at his crew. He could see they were interested in the human proposal. It was better than abandoning their ship and cramming into the tiny human vessel. Very well, he decided. We will try your plan. But if it does not work, we fall back to evacuation. Agreed. Hyun said. The next few hours were busy for both crews. The humans brought cables, connectors, and tools from their ship. The Vorthak crew worked to prepare their ship's systems for the unusual connection. Engineer Bach and Engineer Cox worked together, despite the language barriers and size differences. The human engineer would point to a connector and explain how it worked. The Vorthak engineer would show him how their systems operated. Slowly, they found ways to make the different technologies work together. Communications officer Nari worked with Vel to set up direct communication links between the ships. Soon, both crews could talk to each other instantly. Medic Yoon and Dr. Yuki shared medical information. They discovered that many basic treatments worked for both species, though the doses and methods were different. Systems analyst May connected her computer to the Vorthak ship's data systems. She was amazed by how much information the alien computers could process, while Dr. Yuki was impressed by how efficiently the human systems worked with limited resources. Navigator So and Navigator Pex planned their route together. The Vorthak navigator knew the safest paths through their space, while the human navigator understood how to get the best performance from their combined ships. As the work continued, both crews began to understand each other better. The Vorthak had expected the humans to be primitive and simple. Instead, they found them to be creative and determined problem solvers. The humans had expected the aliens to be cold and distant. Instead, they found the Vorthak to be curious and willing to learn new things. When the connections were finally complete, Engineer Bach ran the first test. Power flowed from the human ship to the Vorthak vessel. Air began circulating between both ships. The hybrid system came to life. All systems show green, May reported from her station. Power distribution is stable. Life support is balanced between both ships. Navigator. So engaged the engines slowly. Both ships began to move together through space, heading toward Vorthak territory. It works, Dr. Yuki said with wonder. Your primitive solution actually works. Engineer Bach smiled. Sometimes the best solutions are the simple ones. The connected ships moved through space like a strange metal creature with two heads. The Soul's Pride led the way, its engines working harder than they had ever worked before. Behind it, the massive Crimson Nexus followed, its dark hull reflecting the distant stars. On the third day of their journey, the first real problem appeared. Captain Yun, called systems analyst May from her station. I am seeing power fluctuations in the connection cables. The load is higher than we expected. In the Vorthak ship, Dr. Yuki was monitoring the same readings. Commander Kyle, the human ship is working very hard to push us. Their engines are running at dangerous levels. Both crews gathered in their respective meeting rooms to discuss the situation. The video screens allowed them to see each other and talk in real time. How serious is the problem? Commander Kyle asked. Engineer Day checked his readings carefully. Our engines can handle the load, but not for 15 days. We need to reduce power somehow. Engineer Cox had an idea. What if we shut down non-essential systems on our ship? Reduce the mass we are carrying? What systems can you turn off safely? Engineer Bach asked. Dr. Yuki consulted with his crew. We can shut down the research labs, the extra life support zones, and some of the computer systems. That should reduce our power needs significantly. Good idea. We can also adjust our speed slightly. Go a little slower to reduce engine stress. Navigator. So ran new calculations. If we reduce speed by 10% and the Vorthak ship uses less power, we can make the journey safely. It will take 16 days instead of 15. One extra day is acceptable, Commander Kale agreed. The solution worked, but it created a new challenge. With fewer systems running on the Vorthak ship, some areas became uncomfortable. The crew had to move into smaller spaces where the life support still functioned properly. This brought the two species into closer contact. Vorthak crew members began visiting the human ship to stretch their legs and see how the other species lived. Human crew members explored the alien vessel, amazed by its advanced technology. Engineer Bach spent hours working with Engineer Cox in the Vorthak ship's main engineering section. The alien technology was incredibly sophisticated, but Bach noticed something interesting. "Your systems are very advanced," he told Cox, "but they are also very specialized. Each part only does one thing." "That is how proper engineering works," Cox replied. "Each system is designed for maximum efficiency in its specific role." But what happens when something breaks, or when you need to do something the system was not designed for? Cox had to think about this. We replace the broken part with an identical part, or we design a new system for the new task. Bach showed him a tool from the human ship. It was a simple device that could be used as a wrench, a screwdriver, a cutting tool, or a measuring device. "We build things to do multiple jobs," Bach explained. "It might not be as efficient as having separate tools for each task, but it works when you cannot carry everything you might need." This fascinated Engineer Cox. He had never thought about designing systems that could adapt to different situations. Meanwhile, Dr. Yuki was working with scientist Jin in the human ship's small laboratory. The human research equipment was primitive compared to Vorthak technology, but Jin showed him something remarkable. "This scanner is only 1/10 as powerful as yours," Jin explained, "but watch what it can do." He connected the scanner to a computer and began running analysis programs. The simple device began producing complex readings by combining multiple scans and using clever software. "Your equipment is less powerful," Dr. Yuki observed, "but your methods are very creative. You make the most of what you have." "We have to," Jin replied. "Human colonies are often far from supply bases. We learn to fix things with whatever materials we can find." Communications officer Nari spent time with Vel, learning about Vorthak language and culture. She discovered that the Vorthak had a rich tradition of storytelling with epic tales of battles and exploration. "Your people seem very warlike," she observed. "We are warriors," Vel agreed. "But we fight to protect and explore, not to destroy." "What about humans? Are you peaceful?" Nari thought about human history. "We have wars sometimes, but we also work together when we face common problems. Like now, helping you get home safely." "Why do you help us?" "You gain nothing from this rescue." "We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing. That is important to humans." This concept puzzled Vel. The Vorthak understood duty and honor, but the idea of helping strangers without any reward was foreign to them. Medic Yoon had perhaps the most interesting interactions. She worked with Dr. Yuki to learn about Vorthak, biology and medicine. She discovered that despite their different appearances, humans and Vorthak had similar internal systems. "Your hearts work much like ours," she told Dr. Yuki as they examined medical scans. 4 chambers, similar blood, flow patterns. Yes, but your bones are much more fragile, and your skin offers little protection. True, but human bones heal faster when broken, and our skin is more sensitive, which helps us detect problems quickly. They spent hours comparing the two species, finding similarities and differences. Dr. Yuki was amazed by human adaptability, while Yoon was impressed by Vorthak's strength and durability. Navigator, so worked closely with Navigator Pex to plan their route through Vorthak space. The alien Navigator knew the current political situations and safe travel corridors. "This system should be avoided," Pex explained, pointing to a star cluster on their charts. "The Krolix pirates have been active there recently." "What about this route?" So asked, tracing an alternative path. "Longer, but safer. The patrol fleets regularly sweep that area." As they worked together, Pex began to appreciate So's ability to find efficient routes through complex three-dimensional space. Human navigation relied more on mathematics and less on memorized patrol patterns. "Your people think differently than we do," Pex observed. You see space as a mathematical problem to be solved, and your people see it as a territory to be known and protected, so replied. Both approaches have value. The days passed slowly but steadily. Both crews settled into routines that accommodated their differences. Meal times became social events where humans and Vorthak shared food and stories. The language barriers slowly broke down as each species learned words from the other. Engineer Day discovered that the Vorthak had never heard of humor as humans understood it. He spent an evening trying to explain jokes and puns with mixed results. So the human says, "Orange, you glad I did not say banana again? And this is supposed to be funny?" Engineer Cox asked, completely confused. "It is a play on words," Day explained. "Orange sounds like aren't, so—" The Vorthak just stared at him blankly, but they did appreciate human music. When Communications Officer Nari played some songs from Earth, the Vorthak listened with great interest. "The mathematical patterns in your music are quite complex," Dr. Yuki observed. "But the emotional content is very clear." By the 8th day of their journey, the two crews had become comfortable with each other. The humans had learned to navigate the large corridors of the Vorthak ship without getting lost. The Vorthak had learned to move carefully in the smaller human spaces without damaging anything. Captain Hyun and Commander Kale often met in the human ship's meeting room to discuss their progress and plan for the arrival at Vorthak space. "My government will want to meet with you," Kale told Hyun. "First contact with a new species is a significant event. Will that be a problem? We are just a cargo ship crew." "Perhaps that is exactly what they need to meet. You represent the best of your species, helpful, innovative, and brave." Hyun was not sure about being called brave. "We just did what anyone would do." "No," Kale said seriously. "Most species would have passed by our distress signal. Many would have ignored it completely. Some would have tried to salvage our ship after we died. You chose to risk your own safety to help strangers. That is just being human. Perhaps that is what makes humans special." On the 10th day, they encountered their first external challenge. A solar storm erupted from a nearby star, sending waves of radiation through the area. "Both ships need to take shelter," Navigator Pex announced. "The storm will last for several hours." The connected vessels moved behind a large asteroid for protection. Both crews worked together to adjust their course and maintain their shielding systems. "This would have been much harder if we were still stranded," Dr. Yuki observed. "The human ship's maneuverability saved us from serious radiation exposure." The storm passed without serious damage, and they resumed their journey toward Vorthak space. 2 days later, they reached the border of Vorthak territory. Long-range sensors began detecting patrol ships and space stations. "We are almost home," Commander Kale announced to both crews. The journey had changed everyone. The humans had gained confidence in their place among the galactic community. The Vorthak had learned to appreciate different approaches to problem-solving. But their real test was yet to come. The first Vorthak patrol ship that found them was enormous. The sleek warship was 3 times larger than the Soul's Pride and bristled with advanced weapons. Its dark hull gleamed with the blue glow of powerful energy shields. "Unknown vessels. Identify yourselves immediately," came the stern voice over the communications channel. Commander Kale responded from his ship. "This is Commander Kale of the research vessel Crimson Nexus. We are returning from emergency situation with assistance from human allies." There was a long pause. Captain Hyun could imagine the confusion on the patrol ship as they tried to understand what they were seeing. "Commander Kyle, your ship appears to be connected to an unknown alien vessel. Please explain the situation. The human cargo ship Soul's Pride rescued my crew after our hyperdrive failed. They are escorting us home." Another pause, even longer this time. "Stand by for inspection. Admiral Thex is en route with the rescue fleet." Within hours, more Vorthak ships began arriving. Massive rescue vessels, additional patrol ships, and finally an enormous command battleship that made even the Crimson Nexus look small. Captain Hyun watched through the viewports as the Vorthak fleet assembled around them. The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Their weapons could destroy his small cargo freighter in seconds. Impressive, are they not? Commander Kyle asked, joining Hyun on the human ship's bridge. Very impressive, and very large. Size and strength are important to Vorthak culture. We believe in showing power to deter enemies. What will happen when your admiral arrives? Admiral Thex will want to hear our story. He is a good leader, but he can be difficult with species he considers inferior. This worried Hyun. Will he see humans as inferior? Probably at first. Your technology is much simpler than ours. Your ships are tiny, but I will make sure he understands what you have done for us. The command battleship moved closer, and a shuttle launched from its docking bay. Admiral Thex was coming to personally inspect the situation. The Admiral was the largest Vorthak that Hyun had ever seen. His scales were darker than the others, with silver markings that indicated high rank. His yellow eyes were sharp and intelligent, but also cold and calculating. "Commander Kale," the Admiral said as he boarded the Crimson Nexus, "explain how a primitive alien cargo ship became involved in rescuing a Vorthak research vessel." "These humans answered our distress call when no one else did, Admiral. Their ship was the only one in this sector of space." "And what assistance could such a small, primitive vessel possibly provide?" Commander Kale gestured toward the connection. "Cables running between the ships. They created a hybrid system linking our vessels together. Their engines are pushing both ships. Their life support systems are supplementing ours." Admiral Thex examined the cables and connections with obvious skepticism. "This looks like crude makeshift work." "Crude, perhaps, but effective. We have traveled for 12 days using this system. It works perfectly." The Admiral walked to a viewport and looked across at the human ship. "Their vessel is laughably small. I doubt our shuttle bay could fit it." Dr. Yuki joined the conversation. "Admiral, I have prepared a full report on the human rescue operation. Their technology may be simple, but their problem-solving methods are remarkable." "In what way?" "They approach challenges differently than we do. Where we use specialized systems for specific tasks, they create adaptable solutions that can handle multiple problems." Admiral Thex did not look convinced. "Adaptable systems are usually less efficient than specialized ones." "That is true, Admiral. But when specialized systems fail completely, adaptable systems can save lives." The Admiral was quiet for a moment, thinking about this. "I want to meet these humans myself," he decided. The meeting took place in the Crimson Nexus's main conference room. The space was large enough to accommodate both species comfortably. Admiral Thex sat at one end of the table, flanked by his senior officers. Captain Hyun and his crew sat at the other end, looking very small in the oversized Vorthak chairs. "Captain Hyun," the Admiral began, "I understand your ship responded to our distress call." "Yes, Admiral. We were carrying cargo to a human colony when we received the signal. And you decided to help, despite having no obligation to do so." "They needed help. We could provide it." Admiral Thex studied the human captain. "What did you hope to gain from this rescue?" The question surprised Hyun. "Gain. We hope to save lives. But what reward did you expect? Trade agreements? Technology transfers? Political alliances?" "We did not expect any reward, Admiral. People were in danger. That was enough reason to help." The Admiral looked around at his officers. This concept seemed foreign to them as well. Engineer Bach spoke up. "Admiral, we learned much from working with your crew. The Vorthak approach to engineering is very different from ours. We enjoyed sharing knowledge." "And what knowledge could a primitive species share with us?" Dr. Yuki answered before any human could respond. "Admiral, their methods taught us new ways to think about problems. Engineer Bach showed us how to create systems that can adapt to unexpected situations." "Examples?" Engineer Cox, who had worked closely with the humans, provided details. Their tools can perform multiple functions. Their computer programs can solve problems they were not originally designed for. Their repair techniques use whatever materials are available rather than requiring specific replacement parts. These are all signs of primitive technology making up for lack of proper equipment, the Admiral observed. Perhaps, Dr. Yuki agreed. But they are also signs of creative thinking and adaptability. These humans took two incompatible ships and made them work together as one system. Admiral Thex walked to the large viewports and looked out at the human cargo ship. It was still connected to the Crimson Nexus by cables and tubes, looking like a small child holding hands with a giant adult. "Your ship could fit in our cargo bay," he told Captain Hyun. "Yes, sir. Yet you were able to rescue one of our most advanced research vessels. We had help from your crew, Admiral. Commander Kale and his people worked with us to make the plan work." "Commander Kale," the Admiral said, turning to face him, "in your professional opinion, could this rescue have succeeded without human involvement?" Kale thought carefully before answering. "No, Admiral. We would have died in our ship. No Vorthak vessel was close enough to respond to our distress call. Only the humans heard us and came to help. And their assistance was truly necessary? Yes, sir. Without their engines, we could not have reached Vorthak space. Without their life support systems, we could not have survived the journey." Admiral Thex returned to his seat. "Dr. Yuki, what is your scientific assessment of human capabilities?" "Their technology is several hundred years behind ours in most areas," Dr. Yuki reported, "but their problem-solving methodology is highly advanced. They excel at finding unconventional solutions and making the most of limited resources. Could such capabilities be useful to the Vorthak?" "Absolutely, Admiral. There are many situations where adaptability is more valuable than raw technological power." The Admiral considered this information. He looked at the humans again, seeing them with new understanding. "Captain Hyun, your species has just demonstrated something remarkable. You risked your own ship and crew to save strangers from a more advanced civilization. You asked for nothing in return. You simply helped because it was needed." "Yes, sir. This is not common behavior in the galaxy. Most species calculate risks and benefits before taking action. Many would have ignored our distress call entirely." Medic Yoon spoke up. "Admiral, helping others is a basic human value. We believe that all intelligent life has worth, regardless of technology or power. Even when helping others puts you at risk, especially then." Admiral Thex was quiet for a long time. Finally, he stood up and walked around the table to face Captain Hyun directly. "Captain, on behalf of the Vorthak Confederation, I formally thank you and your crew for saving the lives of our people. Your actions demonstrate courage, wisdom, and compassion." He turned to address the room. "I am recommending to the Galactic Council that humanity be granted full membership status immediately. Any species capable of such selfless action deserves a place among the galactic community." Captain Hyun was surprised. "Admiral, we are just a cargo ship crew. We are not diplomats or representatives." "That is exactly why your actions are so meaningful. You represent the true character of your species. You show us what humans are really like when faced with difficult choices." Dr. Yuki added, "I will be submitting a request for immediate technology and cultural exchange programs with humanity. We have much to learn from each other." Over the following days, the Soul's Pride was escorted to the main Vorthak station as honored guests, rather than primitive aliens. The story of the rescue spread quickly through Vorthak space and beyond. Captain Hyun found himself meeting with government officials, scientists, and military leaders. Everyone wanted to understand how such a small, simple ship had accomplished what seemed impossible. "We just did what needed to be done," he kept explaining. "Any human crew would have done the same thing." This only impressed the Vorthak more. The idea that an entire species shared such values was remarkable to them when, It came time for the Soul's Pride to return to human space. They were loaded with gifts and scientific data.